Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, Valentina Gomez is at it again. She's being insane. She's upset that the UK recognized Palestine as a state. Now, one could argue they're just washing their hands of what they've been complicit in for so long, and that it's an empty gesture, but that's a separate topic. The point is her reaction to it, and we know she's a paid Zio, and she's got the call. She's quite off her rocker and terribly masculine, and does not embody any of the female Christian ethos. Okay. She says here she recognizes that Palestine is a terror organization. Think of all those little children. Really think about those little tots who are hungry. All the amputees. She thinks they are terrorists. She says ban burkas, so she doesn't really know the difference between the hijab, the niqab, and the burka. And I noticed this clever trick she did here, which was she called it bomb concealers. So, would she talk like this to a Greek Orthodox nun? Remember that nun who was on Tucker Carlson, how she was dressed? It's almost indistinguishable from a Muslim woman. Would she call that a concealer of weapons? Right? She's really into shaming everything about Islamic femininity. She does not embody any ideal of femininity, and she's arguing here that Muslims are all terrorists and that they invade Christian nations and R-word them into submission. She has an obsession with R-wording, and I really hope that a psychologist takes a good look at this woman. I wonder what Google sees her search, because anyone who has that violent action on rolling in their head in a cyclical manner, just like over and over and over and over and over, now you're too comfortable with it. And you're having those type of images in your head. And she says into submission. So remember, there's some occultic feminist witches who are really dominant. They want men to be subservient to them, and they crave at the same time a man to overpower them. There's been some women who have written about this, and there's been some research on the search habits of what women are watching, and some of it is quite violent. And it's surprising, but it's there. So when I read something like this, I think to myself, number one, she's breaking the rules of her religion by her mere running for office. The way she dresses is immodest. The way that she speaks to men is grotesque. She doesn't have any classiness to her. And she tries to act like a chola. She tries to act like a gangster. She tries to have thuggery. And the way she talks about innocent people in a war zone shows me that she's quite heartless. So she's a very bad combination. She's a combination of vitriol, combativeness, she's argumentative, she's haughty. Think about that. She thinks if you are a Muslim who is immigrating to work in Silicon Valley, to open up a nice restaurant, to have a furniture store, to become an engineer, an architect, that you are an invader. They like to use the word terrorist and invader often in times of political strife where people have energy and they don't know where to put it. So people are starting to question who was involved in the Charlie Kirk assassination, and everyone on the Zio payroll has been given the green light to, okay, shift the focus off of us, okay, and focus it now on Muslims. The boogeyman for so many right-wingers is Muslims. They get super threatened by anything Islamic. It's quite odd. And she's not talking about egg prices, pollution, getting more women food programs, nothing that actually matters. She just wants to talk about R-wording all day. I bet you have a cup of tea with this chick and she would just be like, do you know that Muslims want to R-word me into submission? You'd be like, excuse me, what? Okay, check please. She would be uncomfortable. Imagine her at the potluck. And she's sitting there like, do you know Palestinians, they are a terrorist state? You'd be like, okay, Chola, you need to just chill it with that. An aggressive, showboaty, haughty woman who likes to instigate drama is not effective for anyone. She's a missile. She herself is just someone to stir the pot and be disposed of. She will not be a victim if people start to push back against her and do what she does to them. But I do feel she in the future will claim victim status. It's important for Christians to recognize who they support. Women shouldn't be leaders in politics, but if you are going to support a woman, why not choose someone who has grace like Princess Diana or former Queen Elizabeth, right? Think about how those women carried themselves. That's what you should go towards. We got to stop creating masculine women because we're going to create abusive women who serve the Jezebel spirit, who are very cryptic, who are occultic, and who serve Shaitan. Because once you get to be so masculine as a woman, you no longer fear men and you become a bully. And that's what Valentina Gomez is. She's a Chola bully and she wants to attack religious women who want to be modest. She wants to make it so that you have to show your body. You have to show your beauty. So she's not really a friend for women. And if she was consistent, she wouldn't allow nuns to dress how they dress, right? Because if it's all about concealing what she says are bombs, then she wouldn't allow nuns to dress like that either, right? And America is not a Christian nation. When you look at the movies that are allowed to be produced, the art that's allowed to be produced, you notice it's secular law that is telling Christians how they can express themselves. America is a secular, liberal, atheist country. And the separation of church and state means it's not a theocracy, and you can only really be a Christian nation if you are a Christian theocracy. Because the Bible is not anything important in America. It's not used in the judiciary, in the legislative branch, and it's not in all the public schools. The Ten Commandments are not allowed to be displayed in the public classrooms. Matthew McConaughey told Joe Rogan that he wanted it to be displayed, and then Rogan brought up that this would actually cause a conversation about who gets to put up their stuff. So, remember, the Christians of America are some of the fakest Americans, because if you look at the movies even back from the 80s, they start to introduce lewdness of women. American Christian men consume high amounts of adult content. In 2023, there was over 1 million abortions. The rate of single motherhood. You know, Christmas is a consumerist holiday now that has no real meaning, and Easter doesn't have a lot of cultural depth to it. So, in what ways is it Christian? If we quiz, I wish someone could do this. Go to the Christians and quiz them on their own Bible. How much do they really know? Think about it. And what's fascinating is you'll have people wear the cross and they'll be showing their cleavage. They'll be a gangster. You'll have people with Jesus tattoos and the Virgin Mary on their trucks, but these people sell drugs and they don't get counted as Christian crime. Christians have that selectiveness about them. When one of their own commits a crime, Christianity doesn't get blamed. So I always find this fascinating how Anything bad a Christian does, it can't be attributed to Christianity and Christian values or a fault of Christianity, right? But when a Muslim does something, oh, it must be Islam. So I would caution men to be wary of Valentina Gomez, because she's someone who would cause trouble in a social setting, and then when someone like tosses a drink in her face or rebels against her domineering nature, she'd be, oh, I'm a damsel in distress, and she would try to then be the feminine persona. It just doesn't work. Just doesn't work. She likes to piss people off. She likes to be uncouth. She wants to attack religious women who don't want to be skanky harlots parading their bodies around. She thinks she's tough, but she asked for more security from the FBI after the Charlie Kirk assassination. So she has this sort of Cholia mindset when she's not really about that life. She's really not. And she likes to step on toes, and she's ready to twist it in ways that make her look like a victim. So she's gone to Islamic areas and has tried to piss people off to where they'll do something back so that she can upload it and use it as content. Be very careful of having someone like that in political power, because she's not mature enough for the job. She's too ghetto. She's too ratchet. Okay? If a woman fights against modesty and shames women for not wanting to be sexualized, she's not sound. Again, from what we know, she's not married, and from what we know, she don't have kids. Her place is not in politics. She doesn't have the skills for it. She doesn't have the media training for it. And Christians are creating these masculine, domineering, combative women. And then the women will try to imitate her. Would you want a wife like this? Who she's going around pissing off thousands of men? Is she going to be focusing on the home, the children, creating harmony, stoicism? No. She's like a pebble in your shoe. She will cause problems the more you walk alongside her, the more she's up in your shoe. She's going to cause issues. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from such women. But she's a bad example for women to follow, and we need to do better. And I hope that she never gets any significant power at all whatsoever. And I hope that a man comes around and really tames her and puts her in her place, and we never see her again in politics. Ameen. Now, in Christian art, we see women used to cover their hair, and that they would dress modest. Yet, those people, if they were alive, they would be shocked to see how modern Christian women shame this modesty. Modesty is a great principle. The more you study Christian art throughout the ages, you'll see that they were better than the Christian women today, and this is a good example. Covering the hair and not showing cleavage is the norm for so many across the world. Here's another example of Christian women wearing loose drapery and covering their hair. Notice these women in the Christian art. They're talking to an angel. Well, Valentina Gomez, would call those bomb concealers. You see how she attacks Christian legacy?